I'm Sean White, and today we're meditating on dealing with our family. The holidays are coming up, and this is going to be a time of family get-togethers, right? Family members coming together, which should be joyous and happy. But for some of us, it can be very stressful, and the thought of it can just lead to tons of anxiety, right? We don't always get along with our families, and that could be a little challenging this time of year. So I wanted to talk about dealing with our families, and I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to solve your family problems today, right? I can't do in 10 minutes what countless hours with the licensed therapist could not do, right? It's just not going to work that way. So instead, what I would like to do, though, is I would like to talk about some of the root causes behind family conflicts, and also some strategies that we can use during the holiday season to try to get through these family get-togethers. So let's get started. All relationships have the potential of being tough from time to time, but I would say family dynamics are even trickier because it's family, right? And some people feel like family should be the most important thing, and there's the adage, blood is thicker than water, and you have to stand by your family no matter what. And I don't necessarily always agree with that, right? Like sometimes there's just problems, and sometimes it's not the healthiest place for you to be is around your family. So why are there conflicts within families? Well, I'd say it's no different than any other relationship, right? There's a couple of things that we can look at. We can look at personal, what I call personal issues, and what I call family issues. Now, personal issues are just issues that you have yourself, right? We're talking about your ego, your sense of self, where you place yourself within the dynamics of the people that are around you, right? And there's also the flip side of this. So anything I'm saying on this can go with other family members as well. But we all have different personalities, and it doesn't matter if you grew up together, right? You might have some family members that are very, very similar and see eye to eye on a lot of things. But as we've gotten older, we change. Our viewpoints change. Our personalities change, So this is where things can start to have a bit of a problem, because as things change and as we live our lives, we start running things through our own personal filters. We see things differently. And if your family members have all gone through the same things, most likely you're fine. But that might not be the case, right? So your personal filter might skew things in one direction, where everybody else or one other person might be skewing it in another direction. So what causes that, though? So we can look at things like geography. A lot of times people might move away from the town that they grew up in. I think this is every Hallmark film. And they come back, to the small little town, and, now they're the big city person. And, but these things definitely have like an impact. If you grew up in a large metropolitan city, you're exposed to a wider, diverse array of people and cultures and things like that. So your viewpoint on things might be different than other people. So geography plays a part. Your age plays a part. I think we've been seeing that a lot more recently, in particular with, you look at people that are more seniors, let's say 65 and older, and it's like things that they say and things that they do, and it's like, well, they grew up in a different time and things were more acceptable back then, blah, 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 blah. And younger family members might not agree with older family members on certain topics and stuff like that. So age plays a huge factor. Stressors in your life, things that are causing you stress, might set you off easier. And it might be, and we'll talk about this in the strategies, there might be some like triggers, and somebody might inadvertently say something, or say it on purpose and kind of trigger it. Stress can be like a huge thing that can end up, taking things and blowing them completely up during like a family get together and stuff. And another big problem that I see is comparing yourself to others, or other people comparing themselves. Because that's when you can run into resentments. You can run into being envious of other people if your financial situation is not as good as somebody else's, or your home life's not as good, or your work life's not as good. Or maybe yours are great, and then you're like looking at this other person going, well, why can't you get a job? That whole comparing yourselves thing, it's never good in life anyway. And with all this stuff, with all these, what I'm calling personal issues, it also comes down to communication skills. If you don't know how to communicate properly, then that can just cause problems, right? Because things can be said and or not said, and that just cause problems, can cause rifts. It can just make an entire couple of hours of just trying to get through a meal torturous if you don't really know how to communicate well with one another. Now, I call those personal issues, and then we also have things like family issues. So now we're looking at things, like family finances that can cause problems, right? Caregiver roles. If you have like an older parent or a grandmother that needs help, and you don't feel like the other family members are helping out as much, or it becomes imbalanced, then that's potential for huge problems. Also, when we talk about extended family, as we start bringing other people into the family, husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, we're talking about looking at things through our own personal filters. Well, now you're bringing in somebody that may have a completely different dynamic, a completely different viewpoint on life. Or it could be a type of thing where it's something that somebody doesn't agree with. If you are in a same-sex relationship and you have a family member that is insanely conservative and is against that, that can cause problems, right? Ideology is a huge thing with all this. And this could have been put into the personal issues, but religion, politics, gender issues, all like these things could just be hot button topics at any family get together. I don't know why anybody would talk about any of these things, but they could be like huge problems. But also, you might have unresolved issues in the family. There might have been like something that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and nobody ever talked about it. This goes back to the communications issues. And it just sits there and festers, and nobody ever resolves it, and then you don't talk about it ever, but then Thanksgiving rolls around and you're just trying to get through the mashed potatoes, and it's like, meh. So these are all potential causes of conflicts. There's I'm sure that there's others that I can throw in there. I've had issues with family members with substance abuse. That becomes like a whole like another thing too. So there's a lot of reasons why there can be conflicts. But now let's take a look at some strategies that we can use just to get through the holiday. So a lot of the strategies that I'm going to be talking about, they may overlap with things that we discussed in the Fostering Healthy Relationships video a few weeks back or so. Families are relationships, so that's not to be, too surprising. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is self-preservation, because this is always an important one to me. I talk about this one a lot. You need to make sure that you are doing what's best for you, for your mental and health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health, financial health, all that. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself first and foremost. Now, one of the biggest ways that you can do this is by setting boundaries. This is such an important topic to me. I run workshops on setting boundaries. if you know that there are topics that are bound to come up during your family get-togethers, you can have a conversation with people ahead of time and say, hey, listen, I don't feel like this should be on the table as a topic for discussion while we get together. We can talk about this another time if you really feel like you need to. But I would prefer if we didn't talk about this, if we didn't do this, if we didn't set those boundaries and see what other people's boundaries are as well. Now, some of the biggest things to take into consideration is when there are conflicts, when there are issues that arise, is understanding where those are coming from, right? Are these deep-seated issues? Are they like rooted in something like really substantial, or are they just kind of button pushing? I got a family member. He's not going to die on throw himself on the sword for any of these topics, but he just loves pushing buttons, right? And riling people up. And I get that, and I understand that. And sometimes I go along with them, and other times I realize it's incredibly inappropriate, and just tell them, hey, listen, we're not going to discuss that today. So you need to figure that out. You need to figure out where these issues and these conflicts are coming from, because if they have deep roots, these are something that they need to be addressed, because otherwise it's just never going to change, right? So these are going to be what I call like trigger topics, though. So we need to recognize what the trigger topics are, and a lot of this stuff, goes back, like I said before, with ideology, politics, religion, gender is a big one now. All like these things, you need to like look at, going, what are the trigger topics? What should I stay away from that I know bothers somebody else, and what should they stay away from that bothers me? Now, if these things do come up and emotions start getting a little heated and whatnot, having good conflict resolution skills really helps out. If you can learn how to de-escalate, something before it gets completely blown out of proportion, that's always great. There's lots of tips and techniques online that you can find. I will still always recommend the book Nonviolent Communication. I think that's a really, really great book for learning how to talk with people and discuss things. If you can de-escalate, that's going to make things better. I was like, diverting the topics from one thing to something else. It's like, I don't know all about all that, but I know that these mashed potatoes are slamming, right? Can we all give it up for mom for these mashed potatoes? Just figure out a way of moving conversations from like one path that it's on into like another path. Because at the end of the day, now is not the time to try to solve the problems, right? They may need to be resolved at some point in time, but now is not the time. This is a family get-together. We're just supposed to be having a good time. We're supposed to be having a meal. We're supposed to be opening presents. However you celebrate your holidays, it should be a fun, joyous time. It shouldn't be a time where we're doing an intervention and trying to solve all sorts of problems. Now, if this is something that does need to get resolved, and it's something that does come up, I would just speak to the person and say, hey, listen, I understand where you're coming from with this, or I may not understand where you're coming from with this, but I do know that we need to talk about this. Can we schedule a time to do that so we're not doing it today? Can we get together for lunch? Can we have dinner? Can we, do a Zoom call? Can we have a phone call or something? Take it offline. As I used to say in my corporate life, if you're running a meeting and somebody's like talking about something that, is not applicable, like let's take this offline. Let's do this another time. I acknowledge the fact that it's important enough to be discussed, however, I don't feel like now is the appropriate time. Now, there might be just some issues where you have family members that you don't see eye to eye on, and you don't get along with, it can be possible to be civil, or it might be incredibly difficult to be civil. A couple of things that you can do is just, limit your expectations and practice acceptance. Understand that people are different. You may not always agree with them, but they're entitled to their opinions and their ideologies. And that's just a thing. So sometimes you might just even have to change your focus on these individuals because we mentioned earlier, family has been there your entire life, right? So you might have, and I don't know why everybody always seems to make jokes about a crazy uncle. Everybody's got a crazy uncle, right? So you might have a crazy uncle that doesn't seem to share the same viewpoint with you on religion and politics and gun rights and all like this stuff, right? And all the things that everybody kind of makes fun of, like these are the problems that come up. If that's the case, well, try to change your focus. Like, try to remember the things that you do like about this person, or maybe things that you did like about it. Like maybe that uncle used to take you to the carnival when you were a kid and buy you ice cream, and remember that. Remember the good things, and go, okay, well, we've kind of drifted apart in regards to how we view things, but you know what? We always had a good time previously. So I've mentioned, though, sometimes you might need to distance yourself, and that might be the best way of, self-preservation. I've done it at a holiday where I left. I've had instances where other family members have left during a holiday. I'm completely okay with this, right? If you feel like this is not the space that you should be in right now, and it's better for you not to be there, then do what's best for you. I understand it's family and it makes it tougher, but you need to do what's best for you, right? Now, you may look at a period of time where you go, oh, well, like the past 20 years, every Thanksgiving has just been a complete cluster. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not talking to these people. I'm done with them. And you might decide to cut ties with family members. It's a bold decision to make, and it can be a difficult one to make. And there could be repercussions. You can have like guilt about it. There could be backlash from family members because you might be severing ties with only one person or two people and not the others, and then it creates an awkwardness within the family dynamics and logistical issues when things come up. So a couple of things to think about with cutting ties with family members is, the first one is taking a look at the individuals involved in the conflict and seeing what's the potential for change, right? Them, yourself, can we get past this? Can we change? Can we do things differently? That might go back to the communication skills, to the conflict resolution skills, and seeing if there's a way that you can work through it and make changes, both parties. It's rarely ever just a only one-sided thing. The other thing to think about is, how severe is the conflict really? You might have somebody that likes to push buttons and constantly bring stuff up or throw things back in your face, and it can be annoying, and you're like, I'm done with this, I don't want to do it. But like, really stop and think about like how severe is this conflict? Is this something that I'm willing to blow up the whole family dynamics for? You may not be, right? This may need to be just something that's a conversation that you can have that can resolve things. So that's a few strategies for dealing with your families around the holiday time. Hopefully they don't pertain to you. Hopefully you just have like a really good time. You can get together with people and there's no problems whatsoever, and you don't have a crazy uncle, and everybody gets along. So if you like this video, click the like button, and if you want to hear more of what I got to say, then subscribe and turn on notifications. Find out when new videos are coming out. And leave me some comments down below. Let me know. Do you got a great family dynamic? Do you have a terrible family dynamic? Do you hate the holidays? Are you looking forward to them? Do you have any horror stories? Let me know. Let's start a dialogue. Leave me some comments down below. And until we speak again, be well, be safe, and be kind, everybody.